Hey mamas, could this school year go better than last year? Do you want this school year, no matter if you've got a middle schooler or a high schooler, to start strong for your child? Well, if you do, if you're looking for some strategies, you're looking for some tips to help your teen have an amazing school year, starting these first 2 weeks, be sure to stick around because I'm Jessyka Coulter, CEO and founder of Ace Cookie Tutoring and a study skills tutor. So I help teens have an awesome school year by teaching them how to learn, and it all starts with those steps that your child takes this first and second week of school during this brand new back to school 2024 season. So be sure to hit that follow button and subscribe button because this is only the first 2 weeks of school. So a lot more school to talk about in upcoming videos. And do know I'm hosting a webinar this week on Thursday that I'd love you to attend. More info in the description, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. Alright, let's talk about week one. There are three big things that your child needs to do during this first week of back to school. We need to create a document with all of the information teachers provide on the syllabus, but only the important stuff. Okay, your child needs to know which teacher is teaching which class, really needs to learn how grades work. Okay, if you've got a high schooler, this is probably going to be mind blowing. Okay, huge difference most of the time, especially for public school, private school, basically anything really other than homeschooling. Big difference with how grades are calculated in high school versus middle school. So your child may not be used to weighted grades, knowing that, okay, 20% comes from homework, 50% comes from tests. Like all of that stuff, that's the important information your child needs to put in this document. All of this will be in a syllabus for every class. But if your kid's got 8 classes, that's a lot of paperwork to keep track of. Whereas if your child copies and pastes from this syllabus to that syllabus, puts it in one place, and then unfortunately sometimes has to make those hard decisions of, okay, should I do this homework or should I study for this test? Or if a child knows there's no late work policy in this class, or that homework's only worth 5% of the final grade, those types of questions can be answered by having this document put together now. Okay, so late work policy, how grades are calculated, how to contact the teacher, let alone class name, teacher's name. All of that goes in this document that your child needs to create week one of school. Okay? Now, another big part of week one is for your teen and his teachers to get to know each other. Okay? I don't need your son or daughter to know each of his teachers' life stories. Like, she doesn't need to know, well, she has 3 kids, she has a dog named Bob. None of that. Like, that's not essential. But that teacher needs to know who your teen is other than some random kid that she now has in her class that hopefully she'll get a chance to meet and to get to know over the year. If your child takes the initiative and says, hey, I'm so and so, maybe even does a little bit more intro, depending on if your child has an IP, 504, whatever other things that might be important for the teacher to know outside of, hey, I am this child in this class, then now your teen's teacher has a face to go with the name and is probably going to have a better relationship with your teen from this first week of school than she will with other students that don't go out of their way to introduce themselves. Okay, I really want your teens to know teachers are people too, but I hope you know just how many students your teens teachers probably have. It could be in the hundreds, if not way beyond, depending on if we're talking middle school, high school, or even college. Okay, the third and final thing that your teen needs to do this first week of school is to make the effort to be social. Okay, now I know that might not sound fun, might sound kind of difficult, especially at the middle school and high school levels, because your elementary student now might be with 4 or 5 other elementary schools full of kids that she's never met. Maybe same thing at the high school, multiple middle schools came together to put into that high school. Well, I'm not asking your teen to have a new best friend by the end of the first week, but mamas, I want your son, your daughter, to purposely make contact with at least one new person every day. Is it someone in a classroom that just says, hey, and your teen says, hey, back? Maybe your child has a new locker buddy because, again, new faces, new schools combined together. Or maybe your child's in a new school, like maybe you guys moved this summer. Same thing, your child saying, hey, making small talk, even just a couple words with a new locker buddy. That's a connection point. Okay, so those are the 3 things I want your teen to do by the end of the first week. So mamas, I'd love to know, is this the first week of school for your child? Was it last week, or is it still a couple weeks away? Let me know. But do know that document with all the information from the syllabus from my class, your teen being social, and your child introducing himself or herself to his or her teachers is essential in this new school year for your teen to do to have an awesome, strong, amazing, wonderful 2024-2025 school year. Okay? Now, before we jump into week 2, I want to say thanks for watching. We're live on Facebook right now on the Ace Cookie Tutoring business page, so if you're not a follower, be sure to change that. This will be over on YouTube very soon, so make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Alright, week 2. So once we've got some basics figured out, the next kind of level of basics, other important things to do in this new school year is your teen needs to really figure out what to do with that passing period, consider some lunch situations, and then also be ready with the schedule. So let's start with the schedule. Your child, again, no matter if you've got a freshman or a senior, a 6th grader or an 8th grader, the schedule has changed from last semester. Okay? So that schedule needs to be somewhere your teen has access to quickly and easily. So is it a picture on your teen's phone? Is it taped to the inside of his planner? Like, where is that schedule? Okay, because your teen is not going to probably have it memorized by the start of the 2nd week, and that's okay. But we also don't want your teen having no idea where he's supposed to be on what day, let alone if someone says, hey, what's your, 2 green or your 7th hour, like whatever it is. We don't want your teen to go, I don't know what you're talking about, okay? Because I gotta give you a hint. Week 3 is going to be all about the bells and about the schedules, but, like what time classes start and stop. But we got to start with just even having that piece of paper, that document somewhere handy, okay? Now that feeds into passing period, okay? Your child really needs to know how long the passing period is by the 2nd week, okay? If he's constantly finding himself late to his 4th hour because he keeps going down this hallway, which is really long and out of the way, instead of this hallway, which is a direct shot, that's a problem, okay? We want your children to learn the routes in middle school and high school so they can get from place to place easily, so they get there quickly, and so they are not going to be late, okay? Because if child's like at a private school, one of my students right now, she gets a lot of infractions. She gets some demerits for being late. We don't want your teen dealing with that, okay? Also during passing period, there's a lot of things your child can do in those 3, maybe 10 minutes between classes. Your teen really needs to make some decisions, okay? Is your son going to, go to his locker and then talk to his friends for the rest of the passing period? Is your daughter going to spend the whole time in the bathroom doing her makeup she didn't do before she walked out of the house in the morning? Like, whatever it is, there are some decisions that need to be made. Things like which bathroom, which route, which friend, which time for the locker, which classroom, like all of these things. But we want your teen to really have an idea of what's the good choice for passing period by the 2nd week, okay? We don't want your teen still not knowing what he's doing in that passing period. And last thing, I mentioned lunch. So again, this kind of goes in that social aspect we talked about with week 1, but we want your teen to kind of have an idea of what's going on for lunch, okay? Is it something like, what is your teen bringing for lunch, or eating school lunch? Like, that's a whole big deal. And then also the whole big deal of where does your teen actually sit at lunch, okay? Now, the cool thing is if your teen has said hey to people and made some connections, maybe even surface levels ones, week 1, well, maybe now your teen has some faces and names that are familiar, whether they're classmates or locker buddies or whatever. Well, now your teen could go sit with that person possibly at lunch. Maybe your teen's lucky and has friends from, say, middle school or the year before that now she gets to eat lunch with. Even if she doesn't have classes, that can be really nice to make a difference. But definitely have that kind of lunch conversation as needed, and just know that we don't want that to be the worst part of your teen's school year all year long. So let's start making some progress on the lunch situation now in week 2. So there you have it, mamas. 6 things for your teens to do in the first 2 weeks of school. Encourage your teen to do these things, okay? The sooner we have this information handy, the sooner we can start making these decisions, the easier the rest of the school year will be for you, let alone your child in middle school or high school. So thanks so much for listening in. Remember, if you're looking for some more advice, if you want 3 ways to improve your teen's school year, be sure to attend the free webinar happening on Thursday. It will be at 10 a.m. or 7 p.m. Central Time here in the States. No replays because it's live, it's interactive. So I want you to attend by signing up at the link in the description. Choose the time, and I hope to see you there. And remember, last year did not necessarily go well because there were some skills your teen just didn't have. And we're going to change that when you attend the webinar. So thanks for listening in. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you in a future video to discuss the rest of the first month of school. Bye, mamas.